Well, good morning and welcome back to Live and Local. Kyle Horner with you. And Richie Keirouz, a Canadian National Bodybuilding Champion and motivational speaker from Leamington, is set to take the stage at Speaker Slam, North America's largest inspirational speaking competition, on January 28th in Toronto. Kicking off the 2025 season, the Resilience-themed competition will feature 10 speakers sharing powerful 5-minute stories of overcoming adversity and rising stronger. Competitors will vie for prizes worth up to $10,000, including $2,000 in cash, and a coveted spot at the Grand Slam Inspirational Speaking Finals later this year. Joining us to talk about Speaker Slam is Richie Keirouz, local motivational speaker and Canadian National Bodybuilding Champion. Richie, how are you today? Thanks for joining us.
I'm doing awesome, Kyle. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I appreciate you coming on. We've had some great guests to start off 2025 here on Live and Local. We've had a man who started off the year swimming in Lake Erie. I still think that was crazy, but it was great having him on. A couple weeks ago, we had somebody on that has done a marathon on every continent, and that was some great stories as well. And now we have you, a bodybuilding champion that's now into inspirational speaking. How did this happen? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm 47 years old, live here in Leamington, and I've been training since I was 14 years old. So I got into bodybuilding a little bit later in life, competitive bodybuilding in my 30s, and that was brought on by me going through a really rough patch in terms of having a business that failed, and I found myself really, really down and out about that for a couple of years and got out of training, got into some really bad habits. Eating bad, I was smoking, I was drinking, and I got myself into a really bad downward spiral, and I couldn't really find a way out of that. So I leaned back on fitness. I started going back to the gym as a way to just kind of, get my mind off of things. And as I started to train and as I started to get back in shape, I started to get a lot more stronger mentally. And that started to change my attitude towards my circumstances. And that allowed me to help me to think a lot clearer, help me to focus on more of what I was doing. And then I started to notice that, things started to get a little bit better. My energy started getting a little bit more positive. People's energies towards me started getting a little bit more positive. I got promoted at work, and things just really took off from there. And that's when I really started to understand the power of, physical fitness. And, what I always say now is when you're in peak physical condition, you're in peak mental condition. And when you're in peak mental condition, you're limitless.
I'd have no idea what that feels like because I am not in peak physical condition. Mentally, every once in a while, I clue into things, but not often. So I have no idea what that feels like. But I'm great, that you're able to bounce back. So let's go from there. Life is positive again. Obviously, things are going well for you. How do you get into inspirational speaking?
So I've always loved being a motivator. I've always been in leadership positions at work, and I've always had, teams that I've worked with. I've been a life coach for a while, and I've always had people that I've worked with in terms of getting themselves in better shape and, better health and fitness. When I realized that working with people to transform their lives in terms of their fitness goals, when you go through a major transformation like that, people always think of it as, I'm going to lose some weight. I'm going to lose 40, 50, 60 pounds. Sure. And thinking of it in that sense is just very shallow because people don't often realize what it actually does to your life when you go through a transformation like that. So I found myself, motivating people and teaching people, how to start living as this new person when you've gone through a transformation like that. So that's when I became a life coach and started coaching and mentoring people on that side of things. And public speaking, motivational speaking is always something that I wanted to do, but I've always battled imposter syndrome for a long time, still battle it today, So that kind of held me back from actually putting myself out there as a speaker. I would do it to my clients. I would do it to friends. I would do it to my teams at work. But whenever it came to saying, okay, I'm going to put myself out there and go out and speak to the public, I'd always talk myself out of it. And I got in touch with Speaker Slam about 3 years ago, and on and off, talking to them, getting on their calls and, getting tips and stuff from them. And I never really took that step to say, okay, I'm going to do it. And just this past November, they had their Grand Slam competition where they take all their winners throughout the year and they compete for the grand title. Inspirational Speaker of the Year. And what I didn't realize was there was a girl from Windsor that was competing. That was Danielle Campo.
Yeah.
So she's a really big name in Windsor. She won the competition, and I introduced myself to her after the competition, and she agreed to help me write my speech and get prepared for it. And I thought, okay, if I have this kind of help, maybe this will kind of give me the confidence that I need to do it. And Danielle's been absolutely amazing to work with, and she gave me a lot of confidence in myself, helped me write my speech, and I finally committed. And I said, okay, I'm doing it. I signed up, and especially when I saw the title was resilience. So every one of their competitions has a theme to it. So this was resilience, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm like resilience personified. So I thought, this is just the universe telling me you got to do this. So I signed up for it, started working on my speech, been practicing it now for about 2 months, and the competition is this coming Tuesday, so I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, unbelievable. Right around the corner here, and with Danielle, I mean, to me, she's the face of Windsor. Perseverance, resilience. It's very cool that you're able to learn from her. Easily one of the people I look up to in my life. I've only talked to her once, but it was a great moment, and I will never forget that talk that I've had with her. So let's talk about Speaker Slam here. So what are you actually judged on? You talked about this speech here that you're able to write with Danielle. What are you judged on? Take us through what's going to be happening there.
So the hardest thing about Speaker Slam is that you get 5 minutes on stage. So you got to tell your story within that 5-minute time limit. You go over the time limit, and you start to lose points. So you're judged on the story itself. Does it emit emotion from the audience? Does your story have a powerful message behind it? You're judged on your stage presence. You're judged on, how you deliver your speech. And there's 4 or 5 different criteria that they judge you on. But really what it is how impactful is your story? And when your story is real and you're raw and you're vulnerable and you're willing to talk about the things that you went through, and giving that vulnerability to the audience, they really, really feed on that. So those are the judging criteria, and I've really taken that into consideration. And, you go through your speech and you write things down, and you're like, I don't know if I want to say that. I don't know if I want to talk about that. But keeping in mind that the more vulnerable I can be, the more people can relate to it, and the more it'll impact people.
Yeah, boy, you nailed it on that one. Like, to me, you're just being real. People that I love to have on Live and Local, I just love real people that, hey, I've been through this. If this is what happened to me, maybe I had some down moments in my life, but I've been able to bounce back, and here we are, right? Stronger than ever. I absolutely love that. So that's good to hear.
Yeah.
When you tell your story, can you tell people's lives are being changed, or, can you tell there's inspiration there? You're making a difference in their life. Maybe they're realizing, boy, they've been through some tough times in their life, but they've bounced back and they're resilient. Can you tell, can you feel that in the crowd?
Yeah, you can, especially, after you've told some people, I talk about my story a lot to friends and, people that I work with. And the thing that really resonates is that this is why I like to be vulnerable. And so why it's so important to be vulnerable, because everybody's going through something. Yeah. But when you're going through something, when you're really, really down and you're either depressed or you're going through a rough patch, you always seem to think that you're the only one going through it. And, no, I can't talk about this because no one's going to understand.
Yeah.
But when you go out there and you put yourself out there and you talk about that and people go, oh, wow, like I went through something similar. I thought I was the only one, and I had no idea what I was going to do to get out of it. And then they hear your story and they hear what the steps that you took to really overcome that. You can really feel that when people say, you went through that? Really? I went through something similar. And that's when I know right away when you've got somebody's attention and you've really touched an emotion in them, because it really, really opens them up to talk about their own problems and their own stories, right?
Yeah, we all have one. And like you said, you probably don't even realize that so many people have gone through or are going through the struggles that you are. And until you talk about it with somebody, you realize, hey, you know what? I'm normal. There's a lot of us going through a lot of different things, trying to bounce back from a lot of different things. And that's just life. And it's going to kick you. It's going to knock you down sometimes, but it's how you bounce back that really shows the kind of person you are. So I absolutely love that. Now, as a coach, motivational coach, help me out here, because I've never really talked with one. And, winter, I'm down, it's cold. Inspire me to actually do something outside on a Saturday today because I have no effort. I hate the cold. I just want to go someplace warm. Convince me that it's going to be okay and I'm going to survive the winter and make it into the warm weather of summer.
Absolutely. You know what it is? It's taking very, very small steps. And I take this approach with all my clients. And it sounds so simple, but momentum builds on momentum. So set one small, tiny goal. If it's too cold outside, go to the gym, walk on the treadmill, do something physical in your house. Set one small goal every day. Just say to yourself, okay, you know what? This week I'm going to try to drink a little bit more water. And then build upon that. Next week, I'm going to try to eat a little bit more protein. I'm going to try to cut out some sugars. I'm going to try to cut out some fast food. And just those tiny little wins every single day and every single week, they build upon each other. Don't look at it as, okay, for the next 6 months, I'm not going to eat sugar. That's a massive goal, and that's something that, people are going to look at and go, it's such a long way. Just say to yourself, hey, you know what? Today's Saturday. I'm not going to eat any sugar today. And when you actually do it and you go to bed that night and you're like, I didn't have any sugar today. That's a huge win.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to try to do it again tomorrow. And on top of that, I'm not going to eat sugar tomorrow, but I'm also going to drink more water tomorrow. And that's another win. And then you set another small one on Monday. And over time, it doesn't take a lot of time. 2-3 weeks in, you've got all these little small wins under your belt. You start to really build a lot of confidence in yourself. You're like, okay, what else can I do now? Do I go out and I get a gym membership now? Do I start going for a 20-minute walk every single night? And those small goals start to turn into really, really big ones. And once you get that momentum going, man, you're really taking off.
Yeah, you got me jacked up. I appreciate that. Now, you sound like my wife. Don't take offense to that. She's an amazing person, and she's my inspiration every day. But, you got to have more protein. You got to cut the sugar out. I mean, that's what I get that speech almost every day of my life. But both of you are correct. I really do need to kind of get in shape. You almost inspired me to maybe lift a weight today when she's doing a workout. Maybe. I might find it in me to lift a weight. Richie, thank you so much for doing this. Really do appreciate it. Best of luck on Tuesday up there in Toronto. And you know what? No matter what happens, I'd love to have you back on, and we'll just talk about how it all went, okay?
Thank you so much, Kyle. I appreciate your time.
Again, that was Richie Keirouz, a Canadian National Bodybuilding Champion and motivational speaker from Leamington. He's set to take the stage at Speaker Slam, North America's largest inspirational speaking competition, on January 28th in Toronto. The Resilience-themed competition will feature 10 speakers sharing powerful 5-minute stories of overcoming adversity and rising stronger. Competitors are vying for prizes worth up to $10,000, including $2,000 in cash and a coveted spot at the Grand Slam Inspirational Speaking Finals later this year. Richie, best of luck. This whole community is with you. Go out there and achieve your dream. It's Live and Local with Kyle Horner on AM800.